I just want to share what this has done for my life. The reason I didn't know all the science behind all of this. I've traveled around as a documentary filmmaker. We travel around putting seminars about health. I now put on a seminar. We, have a DVD seminar on the gut-brain connection. The reason why I got into all of this is because I lived in a foreign country for a year, and I got stomach trouble while I was there from the water. We knew it was from the water, and it lasted the entire year we were there. Then came back to the States. I mean, my wife went to a doctor in that country, and nothing really helped there. And then we came back to the States, and for a whole nother year, so 2 solid years, I had stomach trouble. And for the first time in my life, I experienced what they call seasonal depression, or seasonal affective disorder. And so I experienced that, and then I experienced it every year for 8 years. So every year I would have depression in the winter, and I exercised, I ate healthy. I was actually eating a largely plant-based diet by that point already. After 8 years of this, then I got bit by a tick, and a friend of mine, a doctor friend, said, well, you should just take some antibiotics just to be cautious. So I took some antibiotics, and then I went into depression year round. And I didn't know that the science shows that, yes, that this increases your chances of depression by 25%. 1 round, 2 to 5 rounds, 50%. I didn't know that. So I fell into depression year round. And then for 2 solid years, I was totally depressed. But I continued going forward. I was making documentary films, traveling the world, teaching people about various things, the Bible, about health. And as far as I had tons of energy, I exercised all the time, I, drank adequate amounts of water and all of these things. But what ended up happening was I ended up just trying something. And I went to a biblical plant-based diet like Adam and Eve were on. And so I was actually eating a lot of fruit, and I didn't know the science behind it at that point. I just tried it. And as I tried it, within 2 weeks, and the interesting thing was I started about 2 weeks before January 1st. So right around midway through December, I started eating just tons of fruit, began to eat this way, very, very simple food. And 2 weeks later, which was about January 1st. So if you're struggling with seasonal depression, this should be about the worst time. And 2 weeks into this, right about January 1st, for the first time in 2 years, I could choose where to focus my thoughts. Because many times when someone's depressed, they have these constant repetitive or negative or guilty thoughts. And I was having this over and over and over. I'd wake up every morning. My very first thought would just be a depressing thought. You just hope you'd wake up one morning with that not the case. But then after 2 weeks of eating this way, eating significant amounts, many pieces of fruit, many pieces of vegetables after a while. First, I just started with fruit. The depression began to subside within 2 weeks. And it has been such a blessing for me. I've had the opportunity to travel the world now teaching people on this. We teach it in a seminar. Just some time ago, I was in a foreign country, and I had shared to medical students on this. And then I visited that country again just a few months ago, and one of the doctors came along and he wanted to share. He said, I've implemented the things that you've talked about. And he said, it has been such a blessing. He too had been struggling with depression, but as he began to implement these things also, he too began to find similar results, that the depression began to subside. God gave us these principles. He gave it in His Word, and the same things that He taught originally, that which was intended for man's happiness in the beginning, is the same thing that enhances our experience here in this world even today.